Chief Executive, Gerrie Fourie, is with us in studio. Well done, Gerrie. You're setting new standards. Pity there are not too many other companies who follow this up, but your management information systems have got to be pretty sharp to be able to do this.
Good afternoon, Alex. I think it's one of the things we're proud of, to produce your financial results basically 23 days after year end. I think it's incredible, and it shows our management information. We see ourselves basically as every month is a year end. And I think that's proven in the way we can produce results within a month.
Have you ever had to restate figures?
No.
So far, so good. The numbers are strong, but there were people who were expecting a little bit of a train smash. Not recently, but a while ago when Abel hit the wall. What was it like at Capitec at that time?
Yeah, I think we had a interesting, difficult year last year because we had probably one of the worst strikes in South Africa's history. You had then African Bank, and then we had Moody's. So it was interesting.
Moody's?
Moody's downgrading us with 2 notches. And, but you know, we stick to our game plan. From the beginning, we said we want to do a couple of things, and that was building our brand, growing.
But what happened to the customers when that happened? You had Abel on the one side. Some people, I know shareholders got a little panicked. They didn't react to your interim results the way they should have. What happened to the customers when you got the downgrading from Moody's?
Well, I think overall, I think the customers stayed with us. We haven't lost any clients, and I think a good reflection of that is our retail fixed-term savings clients. We saw for the first 2-3 months basically no growth, and then suddenly the growth started picking up, and we were back to normal in December, January, February, where we were growing with about 200 million.
So there was a jolt, but
there was a bit, and then the confidence came back through. So we're quite happy with the way we actually came through those crises.
Because your share price has come through that crisis incredibly well, up 149% in the past year. You're now valued at 54 billion rand. Are you confident that you can live up to these expectations?
Alec, I think we don't look at the share price, we look at the business, and we focus on the growth possibilities that there is in Capitec. So we believe in the South African economy, which is tight, there's still plenty of growth opportunities. Our market share on the banking side is about 16%. We still would like to take that much higher. And on the unsecured lending side, our market share is about 26%. So we believe there's still growth. And then, you know, we've got a branch network of 670 branches, and we've got 6.2 million clients. So we still can do a lot of upselling and cross-selling to that client base.
The numbers are always interesting. They're in your releases, they're in SENS. We need to talk about other things, though. We need to talk about this, the fact that you only grew your credit by 7% in this year. Are you nervous?
No, I think a lot of people was expecting that we actually were cutting back if you look at the last 3-4 years. So I think actually to grow with 7% in a tough economical situation is showing that our credit models, we could pinpoint the areas that we can actually improve on. So I think overall to grow with 7% in a very tough period, I think it's actually an excellent performance.
What about your cover for doubtful or bad debts?
Well, if you look at our arrears percentage drop from 6.5% to 5.4%, that's our second lowest ever. Our provisions coverage is 196%.
Which means what?
Well, it's covering our provisioning to our arrears. We're covering our arrears with 196%. So
and that was the big difference between you and Abel.
That's correct. And if you can compare that to February 14, that percentage was about 167%. So again, we've gone in with a conservative provisioning approach. And, you know, that's one of our strengths, is to be conservative and to grow the company over a very long term.
Gerrie, I know you were listening while Gugu and Lindsay and I were talking about this whole Belvedere management Ponzi scheme, and a company well known in the country, De Vere, involved there, Kobus Kellerman, Claris Asset Management, etc. This refocuses the value of the brand. Capitec comes from an interesting past. Do you think your brand is now at a situation where people actually believe it?
I think so. You know, when we started off 15 years ago, one of our aims was to establish Capitec as a brand. And I think if you go and look at our success in the last 2 to 3 years, if you look at, there's 2 figures that stands out for me. It's if you look at our banking clients, which is now 2.8 million, that's 44% of our client base actually banks with ourselves. 5-6 years ago, that was 14%. And then if you look at our retail savings clients, that's grown with 27%. Now, both of those figures tells you there's trust in the brand and trust in Capitec. So that's the positive signs we're seeing.
No, you won't put money into an organization if you aren't sure you can get it back. Transaction revenues, though, is kind of your holy grail, isn't it?
Well, it's actually balancing our portfolio quite nicely, because on the one side we've got the credit side, and the other side is our transactional banking side.
But you keep the costs low
Yeah.
on your transactions. You're quite a lot lower than most of the other banks, and it seems to be paying off.
For sure. I think that's where the economy is helping us to a certain extent, because the client out there is looking for simplistic, transparent banking, and I think that's exactly what we're offering.
Continue to disrupt. Just the last question, Gerrie. What about the next financial year? Apart from the fact that you're going to be bringing out your results probably 3 weeks after the year end, what are you expecting?
Well, we're still expecting, like I said now, if you look at our different market shares, there's a big opportunity still there. So we will focus on the South African market for the next 3 to 4 years, and then one can look at other markets. But there's still a lot of growth. So we're still growing with 110,000 clients per month, and we don't see any decline in that. So, you know, the one thing we've learned through the 15 years establishing Capitec is let's focus on what we're doing well.
That's Gerrie Fourie. He's the Chief Executive of Capitec.